Hello, welcome to my new show, You Throughout the Years. Here we will have conversations with ordinary persons like you and me. Everyone has a story, either good or bad, funny or sad. So come and reminisce with us as we find out how these years have shaped our lives. Today, we will talk with a strong, inspirational lady by the name Margaret or Mommy. Yes, this is my mother. So, Mommy or Margaret, introduce yourself to us.
My name is Margaret Lovell, and I'm very pleased to be with you all this evening. And I hope that what I have to say will give you some measure of joy, and also we learn something this afternoon from whatever I have to say.
Yeah. The first question I want to ask you, Mommy Margaret, what is the earliest age you can remember?
I can remember from when I probably was a year and a half, when an old lady was um, cleaning me. And she turned to my mom and said, "Sister, where is the baby's diaper?" And my mom said, "Well, it's out here." And I told my mom about that. And she said she can't believe that I know that because, I was very, very young, but I was very conscious of that. And then as years progressed, I cannot remember in between there, but I can remember when I was like four and a half, going down that thing.
Yes, that is the earliest you can remember, and a baby remembers things. Who was that person who was cleaning you?
At first, I thought it was my grandmother, but it was one of my daddy's cousins named Mary,
Oh, okay.
right? She looked almost like my grandmother, I heard, because I've never met her. She died
Oh, okay.
just before I was 2 years old.
When did your family tell you that you started to talk and walk? At what age?
It was very early. My mom said that I did everything early, even though I was a late bloomer because I supposedly born almost a month after my expected date. But when I came out, I was a very exuberant and very, as she said, a very lovely baby to look at. And over the time, I just progressed well.
Now you're going in the toddler age, and we're going four, 5 to 11. What was your attitude? How you was like a child growing up?
My mom said that from 2 years old, I was a very intelligent child. I could partially read. I knew everything about myself. I knew everything about the world, it seemed. And so much so that I wanted to go to school from that earlier point. But I had to wait then until I think she told me I went to school earlier than usual. So, as I said, it probably could have been before, but I can't recall at this point. But it could have been around 4 years old then that I entered school. I remember being in reception at school. I was very obedient, but I also was a sassy child. I knew a lot of things, as my mom said, way beyond my years. And I never used to take everything at face value, but I really couldn't voice it because as a child, you still had to hear to your parents. So during all that time, I was mostly in the house. I was the only girl, so I had to do the household duties. We had a farm, both vegetable and animals. So I had animals. I had the garden beds. I had the pigs to clean and the water to dip out and pour on the garden beds. I had the chickens to feed, the rabbits, the cow, the sheep to tie out. And 4 to 11, I was an industrious child. 'Cause I had no choice. I had to also wash my parents' and my brother's clothing. I had to do almost everything. So I wasn't a lazy child because I couldn't be. I had to be out and about doing everything. And I could say I was a little mama
Mm.
because everything was me. I go to the shop and I go and I bring back change as I supposed to. If my brothers has to go, it's their turn to go to collect groceries, and so I must go with them, even though it is unfair, but I had to go, And those years, although they were painful because of the unfairness, I call it unfairness, that was meted out to me, I still had, a fair time of it, a good time of it.
At this time, you were saying you have siblings. How much siblings do you have, and brothers and sisters?
I have 5 brothers, 4 before me, one after. I also have 2 sisters that are from my dad, who
You
both
grow,
overseas.
so you
I am
grow up as the only girl with these
only girl
brothers.
within the household.
So so we know in that time that being a girl was a little everything was on the girls because of the thinking in that time. Was it good or exciting? Was it nice having siblings?
Let me say that I became a punching bag for my brothers. The one that they invented I presume their insecurities on. And because I was a child that always I knew my place, but it's just that I had this extraordinary intelligence. And even I remember prior to 11, my brother's going to come here. And I took out their books and I would read French and the English and everything. And, many times they're doing their homework and they would say, Margaret, come, you know this. And they put me between their legs and I would help them with their homework, particularly English, because I was very adept at that.
Okay, that is good. At least um, your siblings were getting you ready for a school and the world. So, and
You can say that, yes.
yeah, how was school for you then?
Um, I was not a really popular child at school. As I say, my intelligence or the way I behave, not in a bad way, but just my aura seems that people say that I'm poor great and they don't like to hear me speak because I spoke well. I spoke well and I carried myself well because in those days children went to school bare feet. We supposed to wear navy uniforms. Some children uniforms were almost white. But my mom was a dressmaker and I had long pretty hair. hmm And my mom used to put on plait my hair in three, and the two back plaits had about 12 yards of ribbon on each. And I used to wear shoes and socks or pumps, as we call them, or dog muscles. So I never went to school barefoot. And, I was fat and looked good. So, but school was easy. It had some difficulties. Math was not my subject at all. But every other subject I aced, right? Reading, always 100, always the top. But I still lack that closeness of friendship with others. And when I was going to school also, I was a protector. I always protect the younger children and from being bullied and all that kind of stuff. That is innate. I seem to have born with that quality. So yeah, I used to fight some because I had some children who felt they could bully me because most of the time I'm quiet. So when I found out that they couldn't, we had a few fracas, but all in all, school was pretty good.
Now we are leaving that childhood and your childish thinking, and we are going into your teenage years, your early teenagers. So that's from 12, your preteen, 12, and we're going to 16. Yes, you're going through changes in your body and your attitude and your the like your likes and dislikes. How was it easy for you in your early teens?
No, it wasn't because being a housebound child and a mom who, with her simplistic view of life, she didn't know. So I myself then didn't know. So things came upon me. I used to be embarrassed at school because I didn't have the required things and so forth. And children would laugh at me. Um, it was a period of breast growing, and you don't have the adequate bra, I don't have the adequate clothing, or the different emotions and whatnot. And I always felt that people were against me because I just felt out of it. I didn't feel on par with my friends. And when I look and I compare them with me, it didn't rest easy on me. It was a very difficult childhood for me, very. And when I got to 16 years old, I told the Lord I have reached 16, and after this time, I could live 16 plus 16 plus 16 more because I have conquered those formative years. And I felt I could do anything after that.
So, what episode made you think that you can make it in life?
The thing is that being the girl in a household that she's not wanted, and being made to realize that day after day, you can take it from your dad, but when it comes to your mother, who actually push you aside, but you're only good enough to do her bidding, the other's bidding, the father's bidding, and then you come along, you had no one to talk to. I could not really have friends, and it was hard. I cried many bitter tears because there are things that happened to me that I could not tell my mother because my mother would say, it's my fault. It's my fault. And to carry that burden, it was a very, very heavy. And at 14, I I went through an episode with a brother of mine, and it was supposed to go further, but my mom decided not to. And I wanted it there because I felt that I needed to get away from the house. You know, if it could have been placed somewhere else, I would have felt better. But as time passed by, and I realized, well, things still the same. I resolved that I would look at me, and I kept my mouth shut, and I just watched and I looked and I learned from others. And, that is why I said when I reach 16, I resolved within myself, I will do better.
Okay. So you heard that in the back in those days, but it's still happening. It was not easy for children to come to the parents and talk about their feelings and the things they were going through because
Oh,
uh, for a lot of the parents they were just working. They themselves are tired. They need someone to talk to, but there is no outlet for them, and so these children was are just living and putting on themselves problems that should never have been in the first place. But we are glad that now there's a lot of associations and support groups for children and even adults who need someone to talk to and need a buddy that they
yeah.
can talk to and
Yes.
and can save their life mentally and emotionally. So I understand um, in that time, it was extremely hard, especially for a female.
Yes.
So, so now we are going in your later teens, 17, 18, 19, even to 20. And yes, you're coming a young adult.
Yeah.
So how was navigating that to being an adult?
Well, as I said, when I reached 16, I had resolved what I was going to do with myself. It is easier said than done when you have persons who block your progress, and when you are mentally incapacitated, when you are not psychologically balanced. And sometimes the persons that you look for help are the ones that are castigating you. At school, the teachers, one or two might have noticed that I had a problem. But instead of coming to me, it became the teacher's lunch affair. And it's only after leaving school that at least one or two had told me that they knew that I had problems and they wanted to help me. But that wasn't the time I wanted to hear it. So I had a hard time still. I went to school and same thing from beginning to end, seeing the children being well treated by the parents attending PTA meetings and so forth. I had no one to do that for me. Sometimes I go to school feeling I'm alone in the world. I have no one. And there were some children at school who really liked me and used to fight daily to sit beside me, lunchtime and whatnot. But I used to take what little money my mom gave me, which wasn't adequate enough. But I used to keep it. And I was splurged like on a Friday with my friends, well, persons that travel on the bus with me, and the younger ones that really didn't have anything at all. And on Fridays, I used to treat children and so forth and whatnot. And when I left school, I did not leave school with the required certificates, not what I wanted. Because in my lower fifth, I was supposed to set my GCEs, but one teacher didn't put me to set the exam, and she was the main person. And by the time the others ran to the ministry, it was too late. Um, she apologized afterwards because I was a top student any two subjects that she spoke, that she taught. So automatically, I should have been entered. Anyhow, the deputy head told me, Margaret, don't worry. We're going to make sure that you get your subjects in upper fifth. And surprise, surprise, when I got in upper fifth, all my main subjects were disbanded, were taken away, and I had new things then to study, now to set it. I was mad. And I know I said, look, I have no luck at all. I come along, and even at school now where I felt that I could surpass all of what I have been through and get these certificates and go to the world and lift myself up and be someone, everything came crashing down. And I really felt, well, there's no hope for me. Truthfully, I felt at wit's end. So much so that I used to go to school, yes, every day. I was, as I was saying, but when I look at a book, I just saw a blank page because psychologically my mind was warped. It was a blank page. So I stare at the books. Sometimes I take back the books to the school after the year is up, virtually untouched because my brain just would not take in whatever. Not that when I set a test, I used to still ace it. I still say ace it because I had that capacity that you could talk and say something, or I could read it and I would recall. But it was very, very difficult. Anyhow, leaving school, I wanted to go and work because I thought that that would give me the independence I needed. My brother virtually slapped me in my face, not virtually, physically slapped me. I told me I have to go to school and get back the rest of my certificates. And my mind was completely against it because growing up with my siblings and the attitude of my parents, I wanted nothing from them. I just lived, eat, and drink the little that they gave me, and that was enough. But anything else, I didn't want. So I wanted this opportunity now to go and work and pursue my education by myself without being told that I am doing it off of my siblings. And that I used to suffer from migraines from the time I knew myself. And that slap and the fact that person is not listening to me, my migraines intensified. So I went on till that was when I was 19, and then I just stopped. I just stopped.
Okay, so in at this point, then yes, we are going through a lot of trauma and disappointments. Did you meet persons or even the male species? And did you became friends with any?
But at school, there was one guy who fell in love with me from the time he saw me. And even a barrier I put there. But he left school to help his mom and siblings out. And after I left school, I started to pursue a relationship with him. But I realized he was caught up in the world and the drinking and the smoking and the, womanizing and whatnot. And I put a stop to that and I didn't bother anymore. But then my children's dad came along. And even though I don't know what happened, I don't know if a bomb or something went off in my head. I up to this day, I really ask myself what happened. But anyhow, we became friendly, and it was a toxic relationship anyhow, because I think I was too strong-willed for him. He liked women. He said that he could beat, and they tell him, well, I could never be his woman because the man had beaten me. So when he thought that was only mouth. So he challenged me and realized, well, it wasn't only my mouth. So we did not have the best of relationships because I was very outspoken and I didn't like certain things. He did whatever he felt like, and I withdrew myself. You know, let him go and do whatever he at this time now, thinking back, is a possibility he thought that he didn't care. But my emotions had been trampled on so much over the years that I had reached a point, not that I didn't care, but I hid it well. I hid the hurt. I hid the hurt well. And it hurt because I have three young children to look after. So, it
Yeah.
hurt, but
So,
that is
yeah.
life.
Yeah. So going through this with, I always say that a person who goes through a lot of um hurt should not go in a relationship like that until they work on their self. But a lot of people do not know that they have to work on themselves. So we are going to your 20s, and you can say your 20s and your 30s. You're growing up, you're knowing a bit more about Margaret. You're a young lady now, and you're a woman. You could say you're a woman, you have children, um, you're in your own home, and think how difficult was it to manage work, a home, and children.
If you do not have emotional, physical, psychological support, it is very difficult. And financial, believe you me, because many days we struggle. Because psychologically, I did not have a partner that cared about me. And many nights when my children go to bed, I'm there by myself, no one to talk to. So I established phone contacts with three persons, and we would stay on the phone until 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. They got me through the night. And my children, thank God, thank God that there were not disobedient, bad behaved children. I said, well, look, God has given me at least this ease that I do not have to be punishing my children or disciplining my children. And I made a promise to myself that I will never treat my children the way I was treated growing up. I I wanted the best for my children. I wanted things for my children that other parents would not have conceived for theirs. But that was my thinking. So, going along, I wanted to improve myself also. But the financial thing wasn't there. Plus, leaving my children with my mom, it was very difficult because I didn't feel good about leaving them around because my mom still didn't have that mental capacity to look after children the way that she ought to. And things happened along the way that I decided I will not work until my children reach a point where they can look after themselves and they can leave them. And, I sacrificed myself. That is the word I used. And I stayed home, I crocheted, and I do some all little things in order to get by. Difficult times, but the children were they were with me along the way. They saw and they understood and they helped out. My mama also financially, she came on board and she helped us. I will admit that to you. And I can say, looking back also, that my mother did not understand what life was really all about. When I sit and I talk to my mom and let her know the different things that she did and how she did them and whatnot, she apologized. She said, Margaret, I did not realize, I did not know. I was doing whatever my mother did, and I thought it was right. And I accept it because we as women would fall in love with a man and he abuses in all ways, mentally, physically, emotionally. And we love him so much that don't care what he do, we still hold on, hoping he would change, hoping he would give you that love that you need. And I told myself, well, if I could forgive a man those things, what I could forgive my mother. She is my mom. So, I pulled myself up and with her help, she was there for me. She still is. I am 60 years old now. My mom still treats me like if I am 10. I must listen to her. And when I do not do things that as she expect, my mom berates me. And she comes by me and she quarrels and she frets and she gets on and so forth. But had not for her support and a few well wishers, because even though I did not have plenty friends, there were one or two that were still of good measure and helped me along the way. And coming along in my 30s, I I always promised myself I never will have a child in my 30s. I got my children started at 21. And by 25, we're done. Whoop, bang, bum. 3 children. That. Not another one. And then I did not want a stepfather for my children either because they're not going to pretend they're looking at me when they're looking at my children. And my children look good. So at that time it was Glenderry. So but I would have been transferred to Dodds. So I
Yeah.
gave them a wide berth, right? And I raised my children. You can say on my own. The majority of the time the father was there but still not there, right? He was absent emotionally. He was pretty good at first. I will admit that. I'm not going to give him all the B, but he was pretty good at first.
You will say then your 20s and 30s was just, you were just living to see your
My
children grow.
oh yes,
Yeah,
oh
okay.
yes. Not a fly could light on them. No way.
So your 40s then, again, this is the year that a woman now they're saying you're supposed to be living your best life. Were you living your best life at this time?
In my 40s, I was living still with my children's dad, but there was some that good communication and so. But I didn't give a heck. I did whatever I felt to do. I go and I do the various classes. I went out and I met people. I did all kinds of things. I worked. Then I became an auxiliary nurse. I looked after the elderly, and it was a good experience. I handled the money and I poured it on my children, and I enjoyed those years where I could give and give and give and give because growing up I didn't get. So I made my children was to get whatever. Maybe I went in overboard, maybe because I would leave out myself and give my children. But I enjoyed those years and I want to change them for the world.
So now we are going into your 50s.
Yes.
How was the 50s for you?
50s, I was completely on my own. When I say my own, I had one daughter and a granddaughter living with me. By that time, I had the dad and me have parted, but I had complete freedom. I had no one around me to look and assess and always, they're not loving you, they're not caring, they ain't caring about the children, they ain't caring about you. And my children were grown at this point. They were grown and going charting their own lives. So I didn't feel away. I was glad I had brought them to that point, and they were still in my life because a lot of children just leave from around their parents at the earliest opportunity just to get away, sometimes from the dynamics of the home. But my children were around me, they stuck by me constantly. And in my 50s, I felt like I was a young 30 or even younger because I feel no different from when I was younger. I have more control of my life. I could chart my own course. I can do whatever I like and nobody can tell me anything. I owe nothing to anyone. And I felt good. I felt on top of the world. I feel on top of the world. I don't have much now because I've been ill, but I felt on top of the world. I worked and I worked and I bought and I bought, and it felt good to know that it was with my own dollar that I did a lot of the things that I did. And those 50s, they're magnificent, magnificent.
You're 60 now. And
Yes.
um, what else do you look towards in your life going in the future?
Well, I'm a God fearing person. I used to sing in the junior choir at school, at school too, but at church. Sometimes I would lead sing and whatnot. Suffering from bad allergies, with sinusitis. I lost my voice, and I asked God before He take me that I could able to sing again to His glory. Because all I'm looking for now, apart from more financial stability, is to see my Heavenly Father's face. And there's no one who's going to change me from my course. I must say, there are a lot of pitfalls along the way. There are a lot of rocks. I stumble, I fall. But I know that in order to see my Heavenly Father's face, I have to crawl from down and pull and claw my way up. And I'm doing that. I want to get to that point where I can go out there and spread God's word to other people. So that is something I know that God has put in me. I am going forward no matter what.
Remember, if you would like to have your product or services promoted on the show, email us at bajanstrokessurvivor@gmail.com. We have different packages to suit your needs. Now we are going to go to a game.
Wow.
Yes, a game. And we will ask Margaret, Mommy, some questions for mothers. Number one, if you had a 25-hour day and everyone else still had only 24 hours. What would you do with your extra hour?
Truthfully, I was spending in my bed lazing with my feet up and but not book now, well book because I am on my phone and I read and block out everyone and just enjoy the serenity.
Okay. All right, number two. If there's a food that you think is really yucky, gross, but you made your kids eat it because it's good for them, do you think now that you were giving it to the children because it was good for them?
Maybe at that time that was my perception, so I could only probably I came along with the fact that this supposedly yucky food was supposed to be good. So yes, I want what's best for my children, so I would give them. Looking back, I realized that I probably, forced my children to do something that they didn't want to in the first place. But what's done is done.
Yeah, that's true. If you were stranded on an island, what with your children, what three things you would like to have on hand?
No, really. I'm an island girl, but I can't swim. So the only things I would like on hand is probably a person who knows how to row a boat. So that is one. And the second would be the boat, right? And at least enough provisions to last us for however long we have to stay on that island.
But you are stranded, so no, there's no boat or no one who knows how to row a boat. So you got to two answers. So you
Already,
only got the
cannot
provisions.
do I can't do like Robinson Crusoe because it can't be one coconut tree with one coconut. You understand? So automatically now I would have to say I wish that I have a knife, sharp knife, so that we could probably harpoon a few fish or spare a few fish.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Probably a box of matches because you might still find a bit of wood and some kind of even if it's a brat that I can to help us by the clothing and whatnot. We born it, we can stay that way. But a knife, matches and some form of food passing by. Even if it's a snake that I don't like.
Okay. Yes. And the last question is, if you had one mommy duty that you will never get back again, but if you could get it back, what would it be?
Oh boy, there's so many mommy duties. Mommy duties are now. Oh my gosh. But being a mommy runs the whole gamut of things. I to be a mommy again, I think is just be able to dress my children the way baby clothes are fascinating,
Mm-hmm.
and I love to see my children dressed, smell sweet. They wash them and all that nice fancy stuff and hang them out and as people say, oh, a baby lives here. And I think being dressed and you to hug them and cuddle and love them and snuggle and that's it. You know, that really.
Yeah, yeah. Baby clothes are so cute.
Yeah.
So then, now we're going to ask you, can you share with us one embarrassing moment? It could be funny or serious. Which one do you pick?
Well, let, no, that would be embarrassing. Um, it must be embarrassing.
No, it could be funny moment too.
I can't say it was funny, but I know we could laugh at it now. But I can remember my mother used to tell us that was my younger brother and I, and and even my younger brother and I, and we didn't have a television at that time. And a neighbor across the way had one that we would go by sometimes. But my mom didn't want us to go. This particular night, now we gone across and we said, well, we're going home. So we lived between hills. So we had to go down a hill and up a hill and to get to our home. So while we passed and we came from the ladies' home and we started down the hill, and beside the hill was this field of canes with banana trees in it. And I said to Sammy, look, somebody did any canes. Look. And we held one at a hand and we took off like jet planes. And we ran till we get home. So when we look around now, we look, my mother coming up the hill, laughing so bad. When I run now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so frighten you, the children, but it's your own mother. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, we have heard about Margaret's mommy's life growing up as a child in the years of oppression as a girl girl child, and having to be, some people, yes, the girls were harsh and being unfeared, but all of this is a lesson, and it was to getting you ready for the real world. Yes, we are sad that people have to go through these things, but sometimes these are a lesson, and it helps you later in life. And that's why you're enjoying your life now.
Oh yeah.
Right? So I thank you for mommy for taking your time to be on this show.
You're
and
welcome.
and you can enjoy the rest of your life in
I will.
peace.
I will. God's help and the love of my immediate family. I will. I thank
Okay.
you for that.
Amen. And I thank you for viewing this show today, and I hope to see you next time. Until we meet again, bye bye.